All right, so we've all heard the news of voice actors dropping roles because of their color. Now that we've heard these news, this has led us to at least what I would think of a discussion that should VAs be choose roles based off their color? So should they be played by a certain role because of the color of their skin, or should it just be based off their talent? I want everyone to like at least get your thoughts here before I start introducing my points.
I think that it should definitely be played by the color of the character too. But I know, like, for example, Family Guy, he plays a bunch of characters. But I think that it would help with, Black Lives Matter, and also just help people of color get the opportunity that they deserve.
Okay.
That's an interesting point I never thought of. Because, like, I haven't thought much about this at all, like, ever. Mm-hmm. But just as a first thoughts type of thing, that's, I guess, in my own logical bubble. I think if you're a very talented voice actor, and, like, for instance, you can do multiple accents or play a character that's essentially not your skin color or not your race, I think I wouldn't mind that. I think if you're talented and you fit the role and you have the voice for what the person wants, like the director, I think it's you definitely should be a viable choice. That's just my initial opinions, just based off of like logic. But
yeah, I think that there's a lot of moving pieces with this kind of discussion. To be honest, I don't think that the voice actors for certain characters matters as much as we're trying to like, or as much as the people who are in those positions are kind of making it seem like it matters. I feel like
continue. Sorry.
I was just to I feel like kind of what Scott was saying. I don't know if it's necessarily that important. I think that there's an issue if there is a disparity where you have all of these black cartoon characters that are consistently being played by white voice actors, in which case, do you just not know any black voice actors? In which case, why don't you know any black voice actors? And that's a problem. But I don't think it's necessarily a problem for the actor at the actor level. I think that what's more a problem is that the people who are at the executive level, obviously those rooms are still full of white people, because they might be like, oh, we're gonna do this whole diversity thing and make, we're on the train for Black Lives Matter by changing out the skin color of these characters, but the people who are making the decisions are still the same people that put those people in there in the first place. So I don't necessarily know if the problem the problem of voice actors is as major as we're trying to like make it seem, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I see.
And I also think, like, sorry, quick insert here. I think that if, like, for example, if the actor or actress that is portraying the character is a pretty like big celebrity, I think that they should take that chance to kind of step down and let somebody else go into that role, so that they're able to, get more exposure and more opportunity. And why not let it could be, the person of the same color, or it could even just be, someone else.
Okay, so for me, I'm gonna list the actors that were stepping down, or at least regret playing roles, and then afterwards I might introduce some different actors to get more of a different point of view of this conversation. So first we have Kristen Bell, who was playing a biracial black/white character named Molly Tierman from Central Park. Central Park is the same creators who created Bob Burgers. So she stepped down because she felt that she didn't want to play a person of color. Although I thought it was very interesting because the person was biracial, which is half black, half white. So in that case, context, on one hand, I can understand where she's coming from, where it's like, we should give a person of color opportunity. But like, let's just say, for example, of a biracial character who's half black, half white, do we just go, we need to find a biracial character to play that role? Or it has to be like a black person? And if it's those two, what makes that decision at some point,
Yeah, I think, well, you go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, for me, I think I sort of have a one mindset approach to this, and it's the creator. So whoever created the show, whoever's directing it, like not exactly the same, but most of the time the creator should be the one like guiding the project. Like if that voice fits what they imagined, like for me personally, I think they should be allowed to use whichever voice actor like they want. If like everyone auditioned fairly, and then they listen to voices and they're like, that person fits my character, I want that voice.
That's true.
That's my mindset about this. But again, I'm not aware of like that world very much. I'm not like, I mean, I want to be. I want to try voice acting and stuff, but I don't know much about how the process works. So that's my limited opinion, or that's my opinion with the limited knowledge I have.
Yeah, which is why, I mean, honestly, I don't know how important the voice actors are specifically. Like that's an interesting thing, because most of the time we have no idea who the voice actor is for characters, unless it's like a special instance. Most of the time we don't really know who the voice actor is. And so I think that where it's an issue again would be like if black or minority voice actors aren't getting opportunities. I don't know if we've heard that in this discussion. I've just heard like white voice actors stepping down from roles, but I don't know if I haven't heard any outcry from black voice actors who haven't, gotten roles. I don't know if they are or if they're not, and if that's a problem, then it should be addressed.
That's true.
But I almost feel like we're kind of being distracted with with this issue, because the whole Black Lives Matter movement had a very specific thing dealing with police brutality and the way that policing is done in America. I have no idea what Hollywood has to do with that. So,
I mean, Hollywood does have influence in terms of like how we view a lot of aspects of life.
Yeah, as far as like their portrayal of things, yeah. I don't think that what they're doing right now is addressing that. I don't think that they're recognizing their influence as far as how they portray people of color or how they portray minorities. I think it's just like this feels like a Band-Aid kind of like slapped together response to be like, hey, everybody, we're on the same train as everyone else. But I feel like they're just trying to protect their pockets.
I think it's more so also about equality, maybe. So I understand what you mean about like it feeling like a distraction, but I think they're trying to get on a jump on like equality before there's an outcry. But you're right, I don't hear anything about voice actors and it not being equal.
Yeah. This is a weird thing because, like, for example, and maybe, I don't know, maybe because of my skin tone why I don't really get offensive about this. Like, for example, The Simpsons. Now all the Simpson characters are no longer going to be played people of color after this whole incident. But, like, I guess I didn't really see that much of an issue. And another reason why I guess I never really saw the color thing as an issue is because also people of color have played other color. A good example of this would be Samurai Jack. Samurai Jack is played by Phil Lamar, who's an African-American person. Cree Summer, who also does the voice of Number 5, played Penny, who's a white girl. Not to mention, one of my favorite Jokers from the Batman was played by a black African-American male. So that's where... This is
Shredder was played by Uncle Phil.
Yeah, Shredder is played by Uncle Phil. It's like... This is where
I think maybe because it's a cartoon.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That when it's a cartoon, that's what I mean, where it's a little bit, this is where with the voice actor thing, where it's like it's a little bit more, I don't know whether or not like like what OC said, is this really just a distraction, or like whether that really was a really big issue or anything.
It almost it almost feels like this is the most like inconsequential area where we can affect change. It's like
there's definitely more important things they could be doing.
I don't understand. Like there's if you actually as a company wanted to affect change, then you would put people of color on your executive boards. You would put give opportunities to writers who are people of color or minority writers, and then they would make their stories how they want it, and they would choose their whoever they feel fits best for the role, just like what Scott was saying.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's like, I think that's where the change is, important, as opposed to, this actor who was already finished with the show is talking about, I wish I didn't play that character. It's like, I don't necessarily care.
Yeah,
to be honest.
And then I guess for me, what made me really got on, like, for me again, I think the biggest thing with this issue is like, for me, is the line, because like, let's go for anime, for example, right? Because anime, that's a whole different broad scale, like where is the line? Like, what about characters that are African American inspired, right? Like that one girl from Bleach, I think her name is Yorichi. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, her. the cat.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, that girl, for example, Yorichi. Yeah, exactly. She is clearly African American inspired, but she's not played by a African American whatsoever. It's played by a white actor, and nobody really it's not really upset about that. Or
you're talking about the English voice actor.
Yeah, English voice actor, right? Of course. And even then, Japanese. I mean, Japan, know. And then even with Avatar, like obviously we know the waterbenders are more supposed to be darker people, but they're played by people of like white people, of course. And then, Fire Lord Ozai is definitely inspired by an Asian descent, but he's played by Mark Hamill, which is Luke Skywalker. So it's just like, that's what I mean, where it's like the line of it is very, to me, where it's like, where do we like I can understand, for example, like shows like the Central Park, where clearly the show, or even like Cleveland Brown, where clearly the character is African American, talks about issues, stereotypes, stuff like that has its own, at least you can make a good argument that could be played by a person of color. But then when you have people who are inspired, that's where it's like, okay, where do we go from there? And like, do we have to play it just to show that it's like that? To me, I just think it limits creativity. That's my biggest issue with it. Like, I understand that we should give people opportunities, but at the same time, I don't want creativity to be limited due to an opportunity because we don't want to reinforce something negative, I guess.
You're right.
That's where I have kind of like a personal to it.
I also think that it's probably not that big of a deal right now, or maybe in the future, because you can't listen to a voice, especially because it's a cartoon. You can't listen to a voice and be like, oh, this voice sounds like an Asian person. This voice sounds like a black person. Why are they playing like a white person? Right. You can't really pinpoint, I think it's just a matter of people trying to make it like a news type of thing.
Exactly. I think that's where the bigger issue comes from, where it is just people trying.
It would be cool, if it was like they portrayed the color of their skin, but I definitely understand where you guys are coming from too.
Yeah, definitely, and it's changed, obviously. Like there's definitely, like, even though I brought up anime, that there are people who played, like there are English dub people who played people of color. There's also anime where they actually made sure that it happens, like Naruto, for example, the whole people from the I think the Cloud Village, whatever, the play where Killer Bee,
the Hidden Cloud,
those people, they made sure they're African Americans being played on that role, and And then what else? Yeah, continue. See what you're gonna say.
No, I mean, as far as the Naruto example, I think that makes sense because the accent of the English dub accent of Killer Bee is kind of so like hyper, like it's like very much a stereotypical African American accent, and so I feel like if they had a white person like doing his best at like a stereotypical African American accent, that might be problematic. That might be a problem. So I'm glad that they were able to make that decision. But if it's just, you know, a normal character who's like talking pretty standard, I don't necessarily know if it changes it for that person to be voiced by, you know, whatever.
I mean, I think it matters to the creator the most if it fits their vision, and if the creator like knows that this is like deeply cultural in a way, they're gonna want to find the correct like skin color for the voice actor. So
yeah, you hit that spot on. I agree.